So you might be wondering, how do I come out as transgender? Well, that's a great question and I'm gonna answer it. With the way we communicate nowadays, you might be under the assumption you have to do some massive post on the internet and tell absolutely everyone at once that you are in fact transgender. No, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do a dramatic coming out video or even a coming out post. Just understand you'll see a lot of people on the internet doing that because they're public figures, right? It's very different if you don't happen to be a massive celebrity. As cool as it is, coming out doesn't have to be a massive spectacle. But if that's your style, go for it. Which if you want to really speedrun this, I guess you can just post, "Hi, I'm transgender," onto like a post, and that's it. That would speedrun it, I guess. So what are some low-key ways to come out safely? I think safety is a very important thing to keep in mind when coming out, right? All right, so whether this is friends or family or whoever, you might be wondering, how do you come out to people that already know you? Well, tip number one is do it one by one, person by person. You don't have to announce it to absolutely everyone at once. That's terrifying. I can tell you one thing, lovely audience. Coming out to a massive stack of people at once is not what I did. Though, the first trans person I ever met in real life did tell me to do that. Different time, I guess. But no, what I did was I started with one person, and then that became 2 people, 3 people. I just little by little tell people. Provided your friends and family are friendly, you don't have to rush this process. Because hopefully, I would hope, the people you know wouldn't out you to someone else. Which outing just refers to like someone coming out for you without you wanting them to, which that is bad, in case you're wondering. Don't do that. But generally speaking, you can take your time coming out to each individual person one by one whenever you're ready, and that's fine. When you come out, you can literally just say, "Hey, I think I might be transgender," if you want a softer approach. If you feel more confident, you're welcome to say, "Hey, I'm transgender. I'm still me, of course, but you know, I'm just gonna be a girl now, or I'm gonna be a guy now, or I'm gonna be somewhere in the middle." It's really just that. But the question you're probably actually thinking is, how do I know people I'm coming out to aren't gonna be real mean after I tell them? That's a really fair question, and arguably the more important one. So here's my tip for that. If you are gonna come out to someone and you don't know if they're like queer accepting in general, or have no idea, we're gonna have to do something a bit on the sneaky side of things. So all you gotta do is, with that individual person, bring up an LGBT topic in general, not related to you. Whether it's a celebrity that came out as trans, or whether a movie or a game or a book with a trans character in it, right? If you want to be extra safe, you can instead talk about someone that came out as gay, for example, to be a little less direct, right? And you'll be able to tell really quickly how they feel about LGBT issues based on their response. Here's some possible responses. If they go, "Oh, okay," that's indifference. Indifference is actually really good because it means when you come out, they're gonna also go, "Oh, okay." Number 2, they're a hardcore ally and you didn't realize it, and they're like, "Oh my god, that's amazing. Wow, queer joy, yay." If they use queer accepting vocabulary, then you're in luck, lovely audience, because they're probably more of an ally than you expected. And number 3, if they do a massive rant that's really mean and cruel and awful and bad and terrible and mean, then you can assume safely that they're probably not going to take it very well. If they say a bunch of mean stuff in response to just, "Gee, I liked that video game with a trans character in it," then you can safely assume that coming out is probably not safe. You don't have to come out to them. It's okay to wait it out until you're in a scenario where you don't have to deal with this person. Whether that's when you move out or that kind of thing, right? I understand it's really easy for a YouTube video to say, "Just come out, just do it, what could go wrong?" That kind of thing. Now, there's a lot that can go right, but your safety is still important. So if you identify a scenario where someone will not take it well, you do not have to come out to them, okay? If you do want to make it work, that's okay. Give it your best and be ready for whatever response you get. You might be surprised, honestly. Sometimes when they meet real life people that are LGBT, they warm up to it a little bit. It's a bit different yelling at something you see on the news versus a human being in front of you. Here's the thing, coming out doesn't occur once. It's not as linear as that. Unfortunately, people that don't take it as well or don't get it will either forget you came out, maybe due to ignorance, or intentionally forget on purpose, or they're just really not getting it. In these scenarios, you're probably gonna have to come out again. And that can be really frustrating, but let me tell you, I came out like 6 separate times to my family. It just takes a while, and that's fine. It's a little frustrating, but it works out in the end. It's one thing to say, hey, I'm trans, while your heart's pumping and you're probably freaking out, but you might be wondering, how do I prepare for the part where they actually respond to my coming out? That's also a really fair question. So luckily for you, a lot of information, science, that kind of thing, supports the idea that transitioning, generally speaking, improves mental health, right? However, it can be a little harder for other people to be receptive of that information. Annoyingly, there's an expectation where you have to become an absolute expert of gender studies and understanding of society in order to be allowed to be a trans person. A lot of people expect people that are coming out as trans to be an expert of everything related to transgender experience. You're going to be asked a ton of really complicated questions that can be a little hard to wrap the head around. See, someone that's cisgender, which just means they're not transgender, a cisgender person doesn't have to understand the intricacies of being a man or being a woman or whatever. They're just simply allowed to be men and women in society, right? So the complicated part is trans people are expected to be experts in their gender and everything related to it in order to be like allowed to transition. Now, I'll point out that you shouldn't have to do that, but just understand that a lot of random cis people are going to ask you a lot of questions about the nature of being transgender and kind of expect you to be an expert despite, just coming out. So here's some common things they will probably ask you. You might get asked something along the lines of, does this mean you're gay, or can't you just be gay, right? So your gender and sexuality are independent. What that means is they don't really cause the other. What that means is your gender doesn't cause your sexuality and your sexuality doesn't cause your gender. It's the idea that being a trans woman, for example, doesn't instantly make you into men as your sexuality, right? They're not inherently linked. There's just stuff that's more common. It's more common for women to be attracted to men, but that's not inherently a default to being a woman. When they ask, why can't you just be gay? Well, that doesn't really solve what you're trying to solve, right? Gender dysphoria is that negative feeling you feel when something doesn't feel right to your own gender experience. This could be like forcing a trans guy to wear a dress and he's really upset about it because it doesn't feel right. Suddenly identifying as gay doesn't prevent this event from occurring. Hypersimplifying the goal of transition to not feel dysphoria but to feel euphoria, so feeling good, that's completely unrelated to sexuality. Look, when I transitioned into a girl, I wanted to be referred to as a girl, wear girly clothing, that kind of thing without it being too much of a drama, right? Whether I like men or not doesn't really accomplish that goal. Sure, if I'm like with a guy, it might feel a little gender affirming in a stereotypical way, but it doesn't really solve the underlying issue. If I was still presenting as a guy wearing guy clothes or whatever and walking around, but I had a boyfriend, that doesn't really solve the underlying gender dysphoria, right? I'd want my voice to still sound different, I'd want to wear different clothes, that kind of thing. So it doesn't really solve anything, does it? Like, really just visualize the scenario of, gee, I feel kind of depressed when I have to wear pants. I would rather wear a skirt. And then they go, then date men. What? I can't look at some random person in a hoodie and skinny jeans and assume whether they're trans, gay, or cis het. I can't. I can stereotype, but realistically, I don't know. I'd have to wait till they tell me, if they do. Sometimes you might get told, but there were no signs that you were trans. You weren't always like this. This is so sudden. If you're a closeted trans person, which just means being secretive about the fact you might be transgender, why would you do something externally that makes it really obvious that you're trans? Because if that was the case, you wouldn't need to come out, would you? Why would you need to come out? Someone would tell you, right? That's just not a thing, right? So when they say there were no signs, understand that A, you probably didn't feel like you were allowed to show those signs. For example, like if you had to grow up as a guy and you wanted to play with dolls, but you weren't allowed to play with dolls, so you probably didn't try to play with dolls, right? As a super hyper stereotypical example, right? So if you had a very stereotypical masculine childhood or a feminine childhood, it doesn't really exclude or necessarily include you to a certain gender. It's just kind of, look, when people are kids, they can just do whatever, right? I don't know, see a toy that looks fun, sure, go for it. I didn't know the toy I'd pick would determine the type of outfit I had to wear for the rest of my life. I wasn't told that when I wanted to play with Pikachu. He's cute, give me a break. The last thing you'll probably get told. But I don't want to lose you as a person, or I don't want you to disappear. This is the most complicated one and probably the most philosophical, but bear with me. I'll make this as simple as possible. You as an individual, you have a wonderful spark that makes you in our wonderful world, right? You changing your gender doesn't get rid of that spark. That core part of you that makes you, you, is always going to be there. Always. And we can change how we look, feel, present, how we talk about ourselves, how we express ourselves. But that spark's still there. And that's not a reason to not be allowed to transition. Quite the contrary. That's a reason to be allowed to transition if you want. Friends or family might be scared of losing that person that they love and cherish. And I think the best way to counter this type of logic is through love. It's like a counter love, I guess. You got to explain that you are still you. The person that they care about won't cease to exist. They won't disappear. But if you restrict and prevent them from being authentically who they are, then maybe you will lose them. And it's more important to love someone unconditionally for who they are than to hold on to something that isn't there in the first place. If someone's transitioning, they're not going to disappear. They're not fading away. That son or daughter that they gave birth to is not going to disappear. They're just going to be different. And that spark, the important part, and that part's not changing. If anything, it's going to shine brighter. If someone's happier and feeling more comfortable being who they are, then they're going to go out there and make friends, make connections, do like their dream career, try all sorts of fun activities. I, for one, became really outgoing because I could be myself. Before, I was super inside, scared to go outside, really restricted any social interaction because I didn't want it. But once I could do it as me, as a girl, then it felt easier, I guess. So if it's easier for cis people to think of it this way, imagine gender as this wonderful little thing we're piloting. And that little spark is inside that wonderful little mech, right? The spark's still there. The exterior might be different, but with this new equipment and power, great things will happen. If you had a pot plant that you love so much, you're not going to place a roof on top of it, preventing it from growing. No. You're going to move that little roof out of the way, and the plant's going to get bigger and bigger. And that's love. And I hope that when you do come out, you are met with love and acceptance. But if you meet people that clip your wings or put shade over you as a plant, just know, it'll get better. Maybe you have to come out a couple of times. You don't have to give up on people just because they didn't understand straight away, even if they said something terrible. But also, if it feels more comfortable for you, it's okay to seek that independence and find your own path without them. Hopefully, if they truly love you, they'll be along for the journey, whether that's friends or family. I can't guarantee what happens when you finish this video and you tell someone you're trans, simply put. There's so many different locations, cultures, people, age ranges, preconceived notions. It's complicated. All you can do is think what's important to you, inform yourself of stuff about being transgender, and if it aligns with how you feel, let someone you trust know. That's all we can do, really. And that's okay. So if it goes well, I'm really happy for you. If it doesn't go well, that happens sometimes, but it doesn't define the entire journey. There's light at the end of the tunnel. If you're interested in learning more about the transgender experience, feel free to check out the other videos I've made. I post every single week. And if you want to send this video to someone you came out to, that's fine. Go for it. If you feel like it would help them understand it more, or other videos I've done, or stuff anyone else has done, or websites or resources, just be patient with it. It might have been a thing that you've been bottling up for a while, but to other people, it might be a very sudden thing. It'll take time, but they'll realize it's not just a thing we thought of last night. And it's okay. And as always, stay hydrated and know that you are valid. I'll see you next week.